So, Sarina, you're up next. We're going to talk about the Water Atlas 2.0 primer, and how this relates to the CCNP is water quality activity 1.2, which supports uploading and archiving of data in standard common public databases, which is accessible by the public, including the CHNEP Water Atlas. And this is going to provide us with an update and a tutorial on the new tools and desktop functions of the CHNEP Water Atlas. So Sarina, go ahead.
Thank you. So the CHNEP Water Atlas was launched in 2011 with the goal of becoming a one-stop shop for all data collected within our watersheds and information about the historical and current conditions of our ecosystems. And so the ultimate goal is to translate the water quality and habitat data into actions aimed at protection and restoration. The Atlas also serves to support our volunteer monitoring programs, such as the Charlotte Harbor Estuaries Volunteer Water Quality Monitoring Network, or CHEV-WAQMN, as well as the Pond Watch and Canal Watch programs we just heard about. And then the data collected from these volunteer programs is all housed on the Water Atlas and downloadable from there. It also includes a large library of documents and resources, as well as recent news and events. So our vision is to have an informed, engaged public making choices and taking actions that increase protection and restoration of estuaries and watersheds. And so to meet this goal, again, we're translating that water quality data collected by local programs into actions aimed at protection and restoration through the Water Atlas. And so the Water Atlas touches on all four of our priority actions for water quality improvement, hydrological restoration, fish, wildlife, and habitat protection, and public outreach. So we recently completed a big overhaul of the Water Atlas to make the site more accurate and user-friendly, and that's why we're calling it the Water Atlas 2.0. And so this involved reorganizing the water body segments to align with FDP WBIDs. Water body IDs is what that stands for. And so data are now grouped by the WBID, and they're even scaled up to basin and watershed pages as well. And I'll show you a preview of that in a second. There's a screenshot on the slide of the Charlotte Harbor water body page, for example. And so you can see there's 4 colored boxes. Those are interactive mappers for water quality, hydrology, wildlife habitat, and resiliency. And so those are displayed to give a comprehensive overview of conditions. So zooming in on some of the sections of the water body pages a little bit, the impairment status is displayed on each water body page. So this was part of realigning to be WBID based. Now we can display the FDEP impairment status directly on the page. And then a little lower down on the page, we have these water quality snapshot, and it has these 5 dials for dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll A, total nitrogen, total phosphorus, and bacteria. And this is looking at the most recent data point within that water body, and it's showing it in relation to its regulatory standard. So if it's green, it's doing well. If it's red, it's surpassed that standard most recently. And so it's really giving you both the annual impairment status as well as a snapshot of what's happening right now. And we do have pages live for over 600 water bodies in the CHNEP area. And so on the bottom half of the page, we have expandable headers for the associated water quality and habitat data, as well as recreation opportunities, photos, and related information. And so the image on the top right is showing an example of water clarity data to show you what these headers look like once they're expanded. So users could see data for red tide, nutrient chemistry, bacteria, as well as several other indicators. The image on the bottom is showing the habitats ecology section expanded. And so here you can see the maps of seagrass, as well as a time series of seagrass coverage. So you can flip through the years to see the changes. And then coming soon, we will have a download data for this water body button that will take users to the data download tool and all the stations within that water body will already be pre-selected. Users can then choose the parameter from a list of like different parameters we have data on, and you can choose a specific date range and download that data. There's also a graphing tool built in there, so you can download or graph the data, and that's coming soon. And then, like I said, all the water bodies within a basin get rolled up into these basin pages. So the CHNEP has 8 basins, and our basins align with how management plans from other agencies and partners aggregate their data. So for example, the Southwest Florida Water Management District swim plan, they use the same basin and watershed boundaries, as well as FDP aquatic preserves for their seagrass segment surveys. So that way now we can show seagrass within the basin and we're looking at it on the same scale as the data is collected. Sorry about that. And so basin pages include a list of all of the water bodies within that basin, and those are clickable links to those water body pages. They also include several water quality snapshots for each of the water bodies within that basin. So for example, in the screenshot I have on the screen, the Charlotte Harbor Basin page has snapshots for all 29 WIVIDs. And each basin page is presented with those same 4 interactive mappers to allow users and partners to look at the bigger picture of what's going on a regional scale within the whole basin. And then on the bottom half of the page, basin pages present geography and land use information, including yearly population totals, land acquisition and protected land information, and land use land cover data is presented on an embedded web map, which you can see in the screenshot at the bottom, and as well as in a pie chart form. And basin pages also include recreation links, photos, and related information. And also coming soon, we will have even more information on these basin pages, including annual rainfall totals, and minimum flows and levels information, and more. And these get even further rolled up into watershed pages. So for example, the Charlotte watershed includes the Myakka River Basin, Peace River Basin, and Charlotte Harbor Basin. And all of those water bodies and all of that information is rolled up into this Charlotte Harbor watershed page. So again, they're presented with the 4 interactive maps and all of the same data, and as well as links to the water body and basin pages within that watershed. And again, recreation links, photos, and related information. So going to talk about the interactive maps a little more in depth. Here is a more zoomed in screenshot on the screen of what those boxes look like. If you click any of the links within those boxes, you will open up the interactive map, which I'll show you in a second. And they are housed in separate boxes to kind of give you an overview of what kind of data within each category we have, but they're all together on one map page. So users can view resiliency data, together with quality data. And so you can see that in the screenshot of the map layers here. So I'll quickly touch on each of those 4 maps, and then I'll try to do a live demo. But here is an example of the water quality map. And the idea is to combine all publicly available mapping data that captures the current status as well as long-term trends in water quality. And so in the image on this slide, all of the little circles, the little green and red circles are active sampling locations. The red and orange shaded areas represent impaired water bodies, and the yellow areas represent water bodies that are meeting standards. The little red and green arrows, which may be hard to see, but there's some right here, for example, those are the water quality trends, which are part of an annual analysis that we do through the Water Atlas. So again, you're getting the current water quality data as well as the long-term trends in water quality all on the same map right here. And there's plenty more as well. So I'll show you when we live demo. And then on the interactive hydrology map, this combines all publicly available spatial data that captures the current hydrology. So in the map on the slide, the colored grids represent annual rainfall totals. And so the darker colors are representing more rainfall. The small little circles represent water level stations, and users can click on the live stream gauges to get the current water level and rate of flow. And the map also includes layers for minimum flows and levels and more. So the interactive wildlife habitat map probably has the most data available on it. So I can't show it all here, but it combines all publicly available data that captures large-scale changes in habitat extent, as well as smaller-scale species shift gathered by on-the-ground monitoring. So, for example, in this slide, you can see the little diamonds are showing artificial reefs. The green, different shades of green within the estuary are showing the seagrass. We also have some oyster restoration site rankings. Sorry about that. Along with plenty of other data. So feel free to check it out and look at all what's available there. And then the interactive resiliency map combines all publicly available climate, resiliency, weather. So this includes sea level rise projections, predicted community flooding maps, predicted vegetation shifts, hurricane data, temperature changes, rainfall, evapotranspiration, hopefully in the future, and saltwater intrusion information. And so on the screen, on the right is looking at the NOAA 1 foot sea level rise map, and on the left is showing the Accoon flood model, which is just a more localized flooding model that was made for this. And then we also have a bunch of other pages and tools on the Atlas. I will quickly run through each of the ones in yellow, but there are also other pages, including the a whole page about the water quality trend analysis that I talked about, water quality contour maps, again, those volunteer program pages, and more. So starting with seagrass, we have a whole seagrass page on the Water Atlas and an interactive map. And so those are displaying maps of seagrass presence and loss, as well as propeller scar studies. That's what you're seeing in that screenshot on the right. And if you zoom into the map, you can actually see the seagrass transects and click on a point on that transect to see the data for that exact data point or that exact transect. So in the screenshot here on the left, this is showing seagrass loss in red and continuous seagrass in light green, as well as macroalgae in that purplish color. So there's a lot of different seagrass information available. And then on the actual pages themselves, not the map, we have graphs for seagrass acreage, species composition and abundance, deep edge, algae, and epiphyte density. And the 2024 seagrass data from the Southwest Florida Water Management District should be publicly available very soon. So we'll be updating these pages in the next couple of months. And so all of that information is actually also available on waterbody pages and interactive maps. So again, like I showed earlier, you can see the seagrass for a specific, zoomed in specific water body on those water body pages, as well as a graph of the acreage. And same with on the interactive map, all of those layers are pulled in there as well. And then moving on to oysters and clams, we have two different pages, the oyster habitat restoration page and the CHNEP clam habitat suitability page. They include maps of restoration projects as well as restoration suitability and ranked priority restoration sites. So these were analyses done a couple of years ago, and all of this information is available on the Water Atlas. These pages were created as an outcome and with the data from the Southwest Florida Oyster Working Group, as well as SCCF, FWC, and FDEP Aquatic Preserves. And again, all of this data, including the restoration projects and suitability, are available on the interactive maps, as well as other shellfish-related layers are available on there. You can see I'm showing the aquaculture lease in this screenshot and Florida shellfish harvesting areas for 2021. I think that's the most recent layer. Okay, so Another page and tool we have on the Water Atlas is our new Lake Okeechobee page. And so this page includes a tracker, and it's an interactive graph that shows the recent Lake Okeechobee elevation levels and the corresponding flow rate into the Caloosahatchee River. We just recently updated this page with the newest LOSUM lake management zones and ecological health min and max. So in the screenshot here, the ecological min and max are shown in blue, and the different management zones are color coded on the graph. And then you can, it's an interactive graph, so you can see right up to the day that we're at what the lake stage is and what the flow rate is. Another cool tool we have is the coastal conditions map. So this is showing maps of water quality information related to red tide, blue-green algae, fecal bacteria, and wastewater spills. We are working with USF and MOAT to eventually pull in the MOAT beach conditions reporting data in the future. And all of these layers are also available on water body pages and interactive maps. So another important tool on the Water Atlas is the data download tool. Here I'm showing the beta version, which is the newest version of the tool. And it really allows you to download any type of data, any of the data that I just showed. And you can, filter by data source, by station, or by water body. Hopefully I'll be able to live demo this, where you can also draw a polygon on the screen and capture all data within that. And like I said, we have 100-something parameters that we have data on stored in the Water Atlas. So it's a great tool, and hopefully the new beta version is much easier to use. And then the real-time data map presents near real-time data for rainfall, surface and groundwater levels, flow, water quality, and weather. And so you can click on a data point to view the station details. That's what this screenshot is showing. And you can even go to additional details and download all this data for that station or generate graphs. We wanted to point this out because it is a little different than the other data and maps and pages that we just showed. Because this is real-time data, it's continuous, it's coming in at even like 15 minutes. So it's not all able to be stored, forever. Water Atlas. So this map works a little bit differently. You can still download directly from the map, but a little different than the other data. And then just a few more tools I'm going to highlight. The habitat restoration needs pages. These include maps and information from the Habitat Restoration Needs Plan that was developed by our stakeholders to guide habitat preservation and restoration throughout the CHNEP area. So the plan identifies and maps potential conservation opportunities, as well as management, enhancement, and restoration targets. It also includes recommendations for coastal wetlands and habitat change analysis and habitat migration model results. So these pages, you'll use these pages if you're looking at a potential land acquisition, find it on the map, and you see that, it's one of the identified restoration targets or preservation targets. And then you can contact us to write a letter of support for that acquisition. Just an example of how you can use these tools. And so I had mentioned the habitat evolution model, which was developed as part of the habitat restoration needs. And this has its own story map on the Water Atlas. So the evolution model was developed to predict changes in vegetative communities caused by climate change. The analysis was done for the years 2016, 2040, 2070, and 2120. And so it's presented in a story map, and it includes interactive maps and charts with time sliders, as well as an interpretation of the results. And again, this data and the habitat restoration needs map data are also available on water body pages interactive maps. So please, the Water Atlas for data and mapping relevant to your work. And this is only as useful as all the partners want it to be. So if you'd like your data on there, please feel free to reach out. My email is here on the screen. as well as if you use the Atlas and have some feedback or questions on how to use a certain tool, please feel free to reach out. And I'll leave this up for a minute, and then I will try to switch to live demo if there's time.
Okay. I wonder how old I'll be in 2120. So I guess this is an excellent tool. I use it for my Canal Watch volunteers. We import the data and then lead them to it. It's way more useful than the previous quarterly newsletter. It's nice for them to have access to their data whenever they want it. But we have some hands raised. So Jennifer, I think you're number one. So go ahead.
Well, first, Sarina, that was an excellent presentation, and I know that we have some time for live demo, and I think it'd be really cool if the members wanted to mention what features they would like demoed. We can also be responsive and kind of let us what things you want to see in the live demo. But I just wanted to mention a couple things in addition to what Sarina already highlighted, which is number one, the vision for this was really to become a living report card. So essentially that as new data was being collected, that we could get constant analysis of that data to understand what does the water quality look like in a certain area? What are the conditions? And what is happening in that area with regards to biological indicators like seagrasses and macroalgae. And so, as Sarina mentioned, it's a one-stop shop in that we try to pull all that data, and the sum is greater than the individual parts. When you look at the data together, you get a more holistic and accurate portrayal of what the actual conditions of these different water bodies are. And this living report card objective is now finally kind of been these dashboard features that you're seeing that are customized to each water body so that you can instantly look at, oh, is bacteria in this creek above or below, and so you're getting calls from citizens when you're having your own concerns. This is really meant to be that resource for you. That's why we wanted to bring this to you today, to make sure that you fully understood what was this and take full advantage of this, and then also to share this with others that you're working with to make sure that it serves as a resource to the general community out there. And I just want to mention that this is evolving. Every single month, we are making additions and enhancements. For instance, the vulnerability assessments that we're funding in the 5 counties that we currently are working with, as they generate GIS information on critical assets, the exposure and sensitivity to flooding of those critical assets, and then even to identifying adaptation action areas and projects and whatnot. All of that is getting pulled into the resiliency map that you just saw. We're building that as we speak. So you would check back 1 month from now and see new material that wasn't there today. It's something that we meet monthly with the Water Atlas contractor, and we're constantly adding new features and new data onto this site. So just want to encourage you to check it out, reach out to us if you have any questions, and then, continue back, because it's going to be the hub for all that new resiliency data for our region. And with that, I would turn it back over to the members in case they have anything that they'd like specifically to see demoed, or back to Sarina just to do a general demo. Thank you.
There's also a fact sheet for this on the CHNEP website, so you can download it and email it to interested civic groups, or hand it out to them if they're looking for quality data or environmental assessments, things like that. So that's also handy too to have, that could be passed around. But is there any other questions or comments for the Water Atlas? If not, we'll have Sarina do a demo.
I have a quick question on the Water Atlas. On that build-out map, did that also show sea level rise?
Yeah. So we can start with those maps if you'd like. But yes, we do have some layers I think we have the NOAA 1 foot sea level rise layer, and we may be adding some more in the future. So I guess I'll just dive into how you get from the home page to a water body page and then into those maps. So here you are at the homepage, chnep.wateratlas.usf.edu, and you'll see this map on the homepage. with all of the different water bodies in our area. And so you can use the like locate me, or you can zoom in to find a water body that you're looking for. I'm just going to go to the Charlotte Harbor page. And so here is the Charlotte Harbor water body page. Like I mentioned earlier, the impairment status is presented right here, and the WBIDs that are associated with this water body are listed right at the top. If you wanted more information, like what is Charlotte Harbor for, just click on these boxes and it will shoot you down to this impaired waters section of the page, where you'll be able to see all of the different parameters that Charlotte Harbor, or the different WBIDs within Charlotte Harbor, are impaired for. And scrolling back up, so I'll dive into the interactive maps in just a second, but here is what they look like. And again, you can click on any of these links to open them. So this is the water quality snapshot that we were talking about, that's showing the most recent data point recorded within this water body against the different thresholds for each of these parameters. So the threshold...
Sarina, I'm sorry to interject, but do you want to point to where the date is? Because there is an issue with the data has to go through QA/QC. So by the time it's loaded on the Atlas, it may not be immediate as we'd like. So in this case, you see it's February 5th. And that's due to the fact of it having to go through the QA/QC process to be quality controlled before it's entered in, and then it's pulled down onto the Atlas. So when it's as near real time as we can get, that doesn't mean like yesterday or today. Just want to point that out, and that you can always find the date right there under the dashboard feature.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So this is from February 5th. Again, it's QA/QC'd, so there won't any data points that were, just a user error with it, and it's showing way off the screen. All of this data is good data. So here you can see that, all of these values are means it was meeting the threshold for dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll A, total nitrogen, and total phosphorus. I would like to go to another water body page to show you, an example of where the does have a sample. But in our estuaries, a lot of these dials are lacking because the Enterococcus data is not publicly available to be pulled in, and that is something we're working to get in the future. But if you're on a river page, you will see fecal coliform bacteria instead, and you'll see the most recent sample. And then again, these are different WBIDs. These are the segments that DEP uses to assess and make plans for restoration, and displayed for each of those WBIDs their different data. And then just quickly, the bottom half of the page again has these accordion or expandable headers. So in water quality, this is really breaking down all of the different data that's available. You can download that data. If you click on the download data, you can look at the graph. You can look at a 10-year graph, a 2-year graph, seasonal variation. And so there's a lot of different information available for all of these water bodies. And just quickly, here is the habitats and ecology section expanded. So here's the seagrass. So if I start at 26, for example, you can click this arrow to look at the changes over the years, and you can download this data directly from the page. And so now I will open up the maps. So I will open up the resiliency map, since that's the one we have interest in right now. So you'll see this message that this map has been set to zoom into the water resource. So since we were on the Charlotte Harbor page, when we open the map, it will be zoomed into Charlotte Harbor. If we were in Estero Bay, it would have the screen. And so, like I mentioned, all of these maps and different layers are together in one map, technically, so you can view all of the data, together. So starting with resiliency, show you some of the data we have here. We have the NOAA 1 foot sea level rise layer. Now I just clicked that on. I had mentioned the habitat resiliency or the habitat evolution model. It may take a second to load, but we have that layer in here.
Sarina, I see a hand up, and I think it might be helpful to let people kind of ask questions as they go, kind of walking us through this, right?
Yeah, that'd be great also because it's take a second to load with screen sharing and all that. So Cheryl, go ahead.
You said this map goes back to 2011.
It was started, but there may be data from even before then.
Okay, well, what I'm leading to, when Scott signed the legislation to basically disassemble growth management, one of the things he did was remove regulation for septic tanks. And I wonder if there's some kind of study in here, or if we could gather some kind of data to show that how crucial that was to endangering our waters. I don't know if I'm saying this right, because to me, if we can get some of the regulations back based on real science, it might help what we're trying to accomplish here, which is habitats, because I'm sure there was some leakage into habitats because of the regulation being removed about septic tanks. I'm not a real huge, buy-in for water, and did some interviews down in the Keys and were kind of up in arms if they forced on water and sewer. It just wasn't appropriate for them. But if we can get some of these environmental regulations back based on science, that's what I'm wondering. If we can show how the septic tank deregulation, which happened in 2011, right when our map started, if there's a way, I'm not asking you to do it now, but is there a way that we can possibly go back and show the legislature based on what we just talked about, if we all descend on Tallahassee and say you need to put this regulation back about septics, and you need to have people have to undergo some kind of inspection on a regular basis. So that's my question.
That's a really interesting question and good thought. So I guess what first comes to mind is we do know that there's a layer out there, information out there, just on, a map of all of the different septic and tanks and sewer and all of that. And we could definitely try to bring that into these maps in the future. That won't, it doesn't have the analysis we're talking about built in. It's just a map of locations and what kind of water facility it is. But, if anyone knows of any that is doing that kind of analysis, please let us know, and we'd be happy to see if we can get that on the Water Atlas. I think there are some discharge models that exist out that we may be able to get on here. So yeah, just reach out to me if you know of anything.
Yeah, I would just say that there are septic to sewer studies that have been done to and prioritize problematic septic areas in different counties. And so there are reports. I'm not sure. I was just trying to look really quickly to see if they're in the Water Atlas library. But that library is an incredible repository, and a lot of stuff can sometimes disappear from other sites, but you will still find it on the CHNEP Water Atlas library. And you can actually just put in search terms like septic and find like a whole list of reports that have been generated on the topic. So I would encourage you to look at that.
Aaron, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, during your presentation, I saw that you showed a screenshot of the one of the multi water quality trends. Is there a layer, or does this map, can it show the water quality trends and the seagrass annual changes side by side by chance?
Yes, it can. And I'd be happy to show you on here. So real quick, before I turn the other layers off, what you're seeing now is that habitat evolution model. It finally loaded. And on top of that, I just clicked on one of the NOAA post-Ian imagery layers. So that is what you're seeing here when they flew right after Hurricane Ian. And if you wanted to see the legend, it's this button down here. So this is showing you what the different colors they're representing different habitat types. And the layer you're looking at right now, what is 2016, So it was showing where they are in 2016, and then you can look at where those habitats will migrate to by 2070, for example. Another thing I wanted to show you, and this layer is a great example, is if you want to have a lot of information on the map at once, it can get hard to see what's behind each layer. So the way you can is this increase or decrease transparency. So I will increase transparency, and again, it may just not be loading right away. Okay. Well, that is how you decrease the transparency, maybe once it loads. But now I will show you the seagrass and the water quality trends. So again, those are from, one is from and one is water quality, but you can look at all of this data together. This will be showing the water quality trends from 2023 because we are just in the process of updating ours now, I believe.
Maybe only pick nitrogen or something, so we don't. Yeah.
Is nitrogen, and give you the little legend right here. But again, you can also click down here and let me go to seagrass. Okay, so here you are looking at together with water quality trends. So you can see, for example, an increasing trend in nitrogen, looking for anywhere where they overlap. There's a bunch up here. So, there was these yellow dots trend here. I'll show the legend. When there's just a yellow dot and not an arrow, there was no trend. So in these areas, you can see those dots. And it will be really interesting when all the new seagrass data comes out soon to look at that with the trends. And then I'll just try to show a few other examples of what type of data is available on here. But Aaron, feel free to speak up if you have any comments on that.
That I was just going to say that's a really cool perspective to kind of see, there's in seagrass population based on a trend, whether it's nitrogen or parent color, water clarity. So it's a pretty cool side by side.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were doing. You can't really describe in the estuary just by water quality or just by habitat. So we really are trying to give the real-time comprehensive interactive report card, how these waters are doing. So some other information that's available on these maps include all of those volunteer programs, site locations, again, algae bloom site visits, and as well as red tide, pollution notices, bacteria data, as well as total maximum daily loads and impaired waters. In the hydrology map, these are where those live stream gauges I was talking about get pulled in. So let me turn off a few layers so that it's not so overwhelming and wait for that to load. So in hydrology, we also have the rainfall data. We have lake bathymetry. Again, we have the minimum flows and levels information and Lee County daily rainfall as well as annual rainfall. And these may take a minute to load. So I will go on to what else is available in the habitat maps. A lot of oyster and clam data, as well as some mangrove data from a study done back in 2016. And then, bird and fisheries data is as well. We have the sawfish critical habitat, and then general layers showing salt marsh and mangrove distribution, as well as environmentally sensitive habitats for invertebrates, marine mammals, reptiles, etc. And in the terrestrial habitat, again, I had mentioned habitat has the most layers, so we even have this broken out by aquatic and terrestrial. So in terrestrial, that's where you'll get more of the inland information, like the Florida panther data and black bear, as well as the general conservation lands map, which is showing all, state, federal, and privately owned. The habitat net restoration needs layers that I mentioned are on here as well. And the statewide land use land cover data and Florida wildlife corridor. And then in the resiliency, I had showed some post-Ian imagery. Those layers are available, and hopefully by next year, we'll have some more from the past 2024 hurricanes. and then as well as storm surge layers for Charlotte County and sea level rise from NOAA for the whole area. And I know I'm a little over time, but I could keep going. Let me know.
Jennifer, you have your
Yeah.
hand raised.
Yeah, no, this is excellent. I think really shows the breadth and depth of type of information on the Atlas well, and you all, will find a lot more kind of explore on your own. But to mention that, of course, as you see, like we've tried to make it more friendly for both the layperson and the technical audience. However, it can still be a little tech heavy. So we actually take the information from the Water Atlas and routinely update fact sheets on water quality and seagrass. And then we synthesize this data and, put it into educational. So I'll drop in that. And I just want to encourage you, like, if you just want a quick note on what's the water quality of a certain basin or what's the seagrasses in my basin look like, we have those materials available, that people can go ahead that kind of simplify this, right? Like I know you do for, a living or you're very this, so you're willing to take that deep dive. Not everybody is. So we also have more simplified materials that pull this Atlas data and distill it down and simplify it for a general audience. So please take advantage of those resources as well. Thank you. And if we don't have more, maybe we'll just check and see if there's any like member comments or questions.
Yeah, we can, I think, to explore the Water Atlas. It's a great tool, but we circle back around when we have roundtable discussion if you have any other comments on that. But I would like to give her an opportunity to talk about her updates. So how this relates to the CCMP, next slide, please, is pretty much everything. Each project addresses multiple actions from the CHNEP Comprehensive Conservation Management Plan.